So, ever felt like you're speaking, but your message just isn't quite landing? Or maybe you walk away from a conversation thinking, ugh, I wish I had connected more deeply there. It's
Mm.
that, that nagging feeling of wanting to be truly understood, to build stronger relationships, but sometimes it feels like you're just hitting an invisible wall. We've all been there, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We really have. And that's exactly the core problem. The course People Skills, the science of connecting, aims to tackle. This deep dive into your sources today isn't just about, being friendly. It's about understanding that people intelligence isn't some innate magical talent that only a lucky few are born with. It's a profoundly learnable skill, and what's truly fascinating, I think, is that the solutions it offers are often surprisingly counterintuitive. We're going to unpack these insights to show you how investing in these skills can profoundly transform not just your professional and social life, but even your most personal relationships.
Okay, let's definitely unpack this because it sounds incredibly powerful. So why should we even care about people intelligence? Isn't it just, being personable or having a good personality? It feels like something that's just, well, nice to have rather than a real necessity.
Right. And what's truly compelling here is that it's much more than just being friendly. The course highlights a direct and measurable correlation between high people intelligence, or PQ as it's often called, and significant tangible life outcomes. Dr. Daniel Goleman's groundbreaking research, for example, illustrates this perfectly. His findings show that a striking 90% of high performers in various fields also possess high PQ. Yet this drops to a mere 20% among low performers. And here's where the financial implications really hit home. People with higher people skills actually make an average of $29,000 more per year, 15 years into their careers, compared to those with lower PQ.
Whoa, wait, $29,000 more a year.
Sure.
That's a profound financial impact. That's far beyond just being nice to have.
It really elevates the perceived value of these skills, making it a serious differentiator. Precisely, yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, investing in your people skills is fundamentally investing in your career growth, your financial success, and ultimately your happiness for the rest of your life. It's truly the glue of success, as the Course calls it, that holds everything together. However, the Course also addresses a critical self-perception issue. It calls myth number 2, my people skills are awesome. I don't need any help. They found that an astonishing 96% of people rate their PQ as higher than it actually is.
96%. That's almost everyone. That's a huge discrepancy.
It truly is. It's quite shocking, really. And the Course refers to this phenomenon as the boiling frog syndrome.
Hmm.
It's a vivid analogy. If you put a frog in a pot of water and slowly turn up the heat, it doesn't notice it's getting hotter until it's already boiling. Similarly, many people often don't realize their people skills are subtly declining, or maybe that their approach isn't working, until a major conflict or a massive miscommunication or even an unexpected professional setback or relationship breakup has already occurred.
The boiling frog thing.
Yeah.
That's a bit alarming, right? Like you don't know you need help until it's too late and the damage is done. I never really thought of it that way, that my own perception might be so far off, especially when it comes to something as subjective as how I interact with others. I can definitely think of a time I realized I'd been accidentally interrupting people without even noticing for months. It wasn't until a colleague gently pointed it out that the water finally felt hot.
Exactly. Your experience perfectly illustrates why this awareness is so crucial.
Mm.
It really highlights the need for intentional self-assessment and, continuous learning rather than relying solely on our often biased self-perception.
Okay. So if we want to get better, and clearly we probably all do, how do we start? How do we even begin to understand people more effectively so we can actually connect with them? It feels like such a vast, complex area, almost like trying to read someone's mind.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And it raises a profoundly important question. How do we communicate on their level? You don't need to be a mind reader, but rather a skilled observer and adapter. The Course simplifies complex psychological models into actionable frameworks like intelligence types, helping you understand how different individuals primarily perceive and process information, you see. And there's also a personality matrix that categorizes common behavioral patterns. For example, identifying someone as primarily a visual spatial learner means, their brain is kind of wired to understand concepts best through imagery and diagrams. So you naturally bring more visuals to the conversation. Makes sense, right?
That's fascinating. Yeah, it makes total sense. But it's not just about my communication style, but adapting to theirs. That seems difficult to implement, though. It sounds like I need a lot of prior knowledge about everyone I meet.
Well, it requires awareness and some initial effort, definitely. But the insight is incredibly powerful from both sides. And the good news is You don't need to be a mind reader. The course provides specific tools to quickly speed read people, even from just their words, body language, or maybe their digital profiles, helping you gather those clues almost instantly. For instance, people with high linguistic intelligence sometimes need to reteach what they've learned to process it themselves. So if a client or colleague is constantly sort of regurgitating your words back at you, they might simply be processing and internalizing, not necessarily challenging you. Understanding this shift can prevent misinterpretations.
Wow, that's a powerful reframing. I can definitely think of times where I might have misinterpreted that as resistance instead of just a learning style.
Exactly. And adapting goes beyond learning styles. If someone exhibits high neuroticism, meaning they're generally more prone to experiencing anxiety or worry, they often respond best to detailed, specific feedback. Why? Because it brings clarity and reduces their internal apprehension. Or if they're a low extrovert, meaning they recharge in quieter, more intimate settings, you prioritize meeting them in their thrive locations, like a quiet coffee shop, rather than expecting them to excel at survive events, like a crowded theme park or, I don't know, a big company picnic where there's volleyball. Respecting these preferences leads to more effective and, frankly, less frustrating interactions for everyone.
Okay, all right. So we know why people intelligence matters, and we're starting to understand how to tailor our approach. Makes sense. But what about those initial, often awkward moments like networking events or first meetings? How do we actually start and, more importantly, keep a conversation flowing authentically without resorting to those stale, generic questions? You know the ones.
Yeah, I do. That's a challenge many face, isn't it? And the Course strongly advocates banishing those boring social scripts like, what do you do? Or how are you? They lead to dull automatic responses precisely because they don't trigger dopamine, that natural reward chemical in our brains. Instead, try killer questions that get people thinking differently, that spark genuine engagement and make the conversation feel more stimulating and enjoyable. Questions like, what personal passion project are you working on right now? Or maybe, anything exciting happened to you today that made you smile?
Ah, I see. So it's about sparking that little bit of brain chemistry. I never thought of it that way, that my questions are the key to unlocking someone's engagement. And then really listening makes them feel so heard. That's powerful.
And this is where it gets truly compelling, I think. After asking, the Course emphasizes becoming a master listener. The expert speaker in the Course even took a vow of silence. Imagine that. And learned that, and I'm quoting here, true listening happens when you quiet your own experience to make room for someone else's. This isn't about waiting for your turn to speak. It's about being fully present. This concept leads to the Ruck technique. Repeat, understand, connect, know. It's a powerful way to validate someone. For example, if someone shares a stressful experience, you might repeat a key phrase, then say something like, I can see how stressful that is. That sounds incredibly challenging, just to show you've heard and understood their feeling. It's not about fixing it. It's about acknowledging and creating space.
I can feel the shift in my own mind just hearing that. It's about being utterly present. But let's play devil's advocate for a moment. What if the person's stressful experience is something I completely disagree with, or maybe even something that negatively impacts me? How do you use the REC technique without feeling like you're validating a perspective you don't share, or perhaps even an action you disapprove of?
It's a brilliant question, and it really highlights the nuance required here. The Ruck technique isn't about endorsing their viewpoint or actions, but about acknowledging their emotional experience. It's subtle, but important. You can say, I hear how much stress that situation has caused you, without saying, I agree with your choices. See the difference? It's a fundamental distinction. The goal is connection and understanding, which doesn't always equate to agreement. This approach also allows you to then, if appropriate, transition to setting your own boundaries from a place of understanding rather than, immediate confrontation.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. It's about respecting their internal reality first, before anything else. But what about those conversations where I feel like I'm giving all the time, or maybe need to say no to something? Or when someone is a verbal tank, as the source described them, and just talks over you, dominating the whole conversation. We've all met those.
Oh, yes. You've hit on some of the most challenging dynamics in communication, where our boundaries and fears truly come into play. Let's start with those verbal tanks. The Course offers some fascinating insights here. First, consider why they might be talking so much. Is it out of fear, maybe anxiety? Or is it genuine disinterest in hearing from you? If it's fear or anxiety, the Ruck technique and patient, open-ended questioning can sometimes help them feel safe enough to pause and allow space for you. But if they consistently show no interest in hearing from you, well, The Course frankly asks if that's a relationship truly worth investing in, prompting you to reevaluate. And addressing your point about needing to say no or feeling overwhelmed, many communication issues, as the Course explains, actually stem from underlying fears. What the author vividly calls gremlins, those insidious internal voices of self-doubt and inadequacy, sort of like the well-known imposter syndrome. These fears inhibit happiness, achievement, and authentic connection. They can even manifest physically, like the anecdote of the Course's author getting stress-induced hives from social anxiety as a child.
Wow, hives. That's a striking example, isn't it? Showing just how deeply fear can impact us, often leading us to hide our true selves.
Yes, exactly. That vivid example really underscores how deeply fear can manifest and impact us. But from this place of vulnerability, the Source offers a profoundly liberating reframe. It says, our mistakes are what make us beautiful. Our complexity, our vulnerability, that's what makes us human. That's what makes us memorable. The true insight here is that authentic vulnerability isn't a weakness, but a powerful catalyst for connection. When you dare to reveal your imperfections, you create a space for others to relate, building trust far more effectively than any facade of perfection ever could. It's about having the courage to be truly vulnerable, to share your authentic self, your complexities, even your imperfections, in a way that fosters trust and deeper connection.
So instead of striving for perfection, I should actually embrace my humanness and maybe even ask for help sometimes. That's a significant paradigm shift from what we're often taught.
Precisely. It really is. The Course even brings up the Franklin effect, named after Benjamin Franklin. The idea is that asking someone for a small favor or advice actually makes them like you more. When you ask for advice, you're not just admitting vulnerability, you're triggering their sense of competence and value, making them feel useful and connected to your success. It's a subtle but powerful kind of reciprocity that encourages teamwork. This is why it's actually an incredibly effective way to reach VIPs, apparently. They love giving advice because they've learned it the hard way and appreciate being seen as a mentor. And for those really tough conversations where you need to set clear boundaries or express a difficult truth, the Course provides a concrete, non-accusatory tool, the when feel need technique.
Okay, having a structured approach for tough conversations, that's not canned like you might think. It's actually empowering. I never thought of it that way.
Exactly. It's direct, it's not accusatory, and it provides a clear path forward. The technique is simple. When you do specific action, I feel specific emotion, I need clear next step. For example, instead of saying, you always cut me off, you would say something like, when you consistently interrupt me during team meetings, I feel unheard and frustrated, and I need you to please let me finish my thoughts before you speak. See how it keeps the focus on your emotional experience and what you need, which, by the way, cannot be argued with, rather than debating their actions or intentions.
I love that. It truly reframes the approach, making it about my experience and needs rather than an attack. This has been incredibly insightful, honestly. I feel like I have some real, tangible tools to try out in my own life now. Thanks for breaking down these powerful ideas into such practical steps for all of us.
You're welcome. So, if you remember one thing from this deep dive into people skills, the science of connecting, let it be this. People intelligence is a learnable skill that profoundly impacts your success, your happiness, and your connection with others. The key is to genuinely endeavor to discover others by adapting your communication, using killer questions and deep listening, while also being brave enough to share your authentic self and set clear, empathetic boundaries.
That's a fantastic, actionable takeaway. It really shifts the focus from just performing in social interactions to truly connecting authentically. I like that a lot. If you're eager to dive even deeper into these powerful strategies and explore the full course, definitely check out the resources and links to People Skills, the Science of Connecting, in the description below.
And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. What's one killer conversation starter you're going to try this week? Or maybe, which gremlin are you ready to conquer for better connection? Share your thoughts in the comments. Keep exploring, keep connecting, and remember, you're not alone in this journey of becoming more socially fearless.